Cut the Check podcast, brought to you by Craft Farmer, bringing you weekly motivation, unmatched cultivation tech, and telling you some badass war stories along the way. Welcome to Cut the Check podcast with your host, Craft Farmer. I got my number one, who's also our guest today, Alex. Huge part of this company, runs our Patreon, just incredible overall human being, amazing plethora of knowledge when it comes to cultivation. We want to thank our sponsors, Dank Mob. You know what time it is for the best exotic boutique Zaza or whatever the hell you guys call it right now in the streets, purple. Dank Mob's got it. So check out the Dank Mob channel. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time out of that amazing platform and all the other things that you do to sit down with us today. We're going to do something different today in the fact that we're going to talk about running a large-scale commercial facility from across the United States and what that started out for us like, what it's transpired to, where we're at today. There's been a lot of moving pieces in that whole element, and it's been a really incredible to look at it and think about it from the point of view that we were in, where we had a labor contract, to terminating the labor contract, getting rid of everything and starting over from scratch, and where that has gone with us at the helm, controlling the labor, controlling the narrative, controlling everything, has reaped very large rewards.
Yeah, well, first off, great to be here. Always fun to be able to sit down, pull back, reflect. So
I spend a lot of time reflecting. A lot of times it's after hours, but so much time reflecting in my life now than ever before.
I mean, it's probably like the most important thing you can do in terms of learning from mistakes, successes, how to repeat things. If you're not reflecting, then you're probably not digesting the fullness of whatever experience you're having. So,
and realizing what you want to change and how you have to change it to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard work to notice when you're headed down the wrong path, which is a lot of what the beginning of this project was for us, was working with these components that were, pretty unsavory. The hired labor crew that we were with, lacking any experience or expertise that would allow us to hit the ground running. That was tough.
That was very tough. And I think one of the most hardest parts about that was to know what we know about cultivation and how cultivation works, and to be working with a group who I feel like doesn't understand it at all, or how any of the processes work.
And that's, I think, the big thing you're seeing with a lot of cultivators is you don't know what you don't know. And that's a cultivator. So then knock that down to employee. You definitely don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's what we were up against. So it's we're watching this happen, and it's this is not how it should look day to day. This is not how the facility should be maintained. And those guys didn't even know, they didn't have a reference point for what it should look like. So everything in their eyes was a success and a home run. And we're over here, wondering if we're going to be able to make it till tomorrow with the next run.
Wondering if we'd even still have a contract or be a part of a enterprise, like the magnitude of that. So even with saying that, one of the things that I noticed right away, though, is they were not willing to listen. They weren't excited like we were. It just seemed like there was just this weird attitude and this just give everything the very basics. And right from the beginning, we started having an issue with that. And then, for lack of better terms, even their handler, I just realized I don't even know what level this guy is on, but definitely not on the level and the direction that we're going.
Yeah, I mean, you saw there's that silent resentment that was up top, and it was just bleeding down into the the lowest members of the crew. And a big part of that is rejecting science and innovation and the ways in which this industry is being pushed forward. If people are living in the past and like steeped in this sentiment that like the good old days are when it was great and it'll never be there again, those are really tough people to work with.
And interesting that you bring that up, because a lot of stuff that happens in this industry, because this industry is so new and so emerging, a lot of things happen and decisions are made based on loyalty and relationships and constantly just sacrificing. And one of the big things for me when I knew that it was over was when I particularly asked this person, I was like, look, I don't think your number one is doing the job and handling it correctly. What happens when this person can't do their job? Are you going to be able to terminate them and fire them because they can't do this? And the answer was like, no. I'm extremely loyal to this person, and they've done so much for me in my life and this and that. And when that was said, it made me really think about that situation and like, okay, like this sounds very familiar, because a lot of us have somebody that's been there for them through their endeavors and through all their different things. And it made me realize, like, when you have that person in your life, if they can't do that job, you can still take care of them. You're not abandoning this person, but you have to be smart enough and know enough that they're not in the right position, though. Like, I mean, you've seen me with people. Like, I'm super loyal to people, and I'll keep them around even though they haven't, if they've been there for me. But I know what they can do and what they can't. And I'll try to find a position.
Definitely.
It might be overpaid and whatnot. I'll take care of you on the loyalty side, but you can't sabotage yourself, the opportunities that you have, and then what you owe your team by being their leader. Could you imagine if you're hunter or gatherers and you're like, hey, we're going to go skip out on this fucking acorn hoard that the new recruit found because Gemini, who's been here for fucking 100 years, says we need to go left at the path, but this new guy can read a map and says do you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
There was too many decisions being based on just loyalty over the years, and I see that pattern with other people and other companies, and I've seen people have drastic errors in their company by giving people power and putting them in power of things just based on loyalty. And it's not, loyalty is amazing and it's needed, but there's a line where you have to draw what position and what empowerment you give those people if they're not equipped to handle it.
Abilities, and they're not innate, they're learned. I mean, I think for some people, you're born a leader. Most people rise to the occasion when the opportunity presents itself. When that opportunity continues to knock and you can't answer the door, I mean, that's when you recognize that this person may bring down the whole ship. And this is an important thing to discuss when talking about scaling up agriculture of any size, specifically cannabis. It's great if you've seen success in a past life, but it's a whole different ballgame when the facility starts getting into the square footage that we're talking about with this project here in Michigan. And that's really tests someone's ability to rise to the occasion. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough to watch because I heard about it, obviously. And I also saw that you had a decision to make, because now you have to basically bypass the leader of this group, because it means if the leader's not willing to make the hard decision, it's got to come externally from you.
Yeah.
So, but it was necessary. I mean,
we tried to make it work
multiple times.
Every different scenario. It's not like we were just like, hey, you're done. Like, we tried and tried and tried, and it got to the point where it was about to break the camel's back.
Yeah, we were literally going to we continue to train these people up like baby steps the whole way.
And now we're wasting our time and we're not being respected, Well, that's the other thing. And this is, with the topic of the podcast being like we're across the country and we're maintaining a facility, this is a really important element, is like what's going on day to day. Right.
we may be the leaders for like the overall execution of the project, but on the ground, this sort of resentment can become really toxic. And sure enough, it did. And we weren't there to see it, obviously, until the writing was truly on the wall. And that's when you made the hard decision, which catapulted us into the next phase, which has been really successful.
Which was scary at the same time. We're terminated a whole crew, and then it was, just me and AJ there for a moment, A
lot of flower rooms.
And I mean, I was equipped to stay there if I had to. I would have done whatever we had to do for the project, and then even since then we've had, we hired someone else as director of Cultivator. Again, we went down that road, negative energy, bringing down the morale of the whole team. Like, these things you have to address immediately. And I mean, even with that one, I think we were a little late, but we still took care of it, know. And then, luckily, with the following that I have and the respect in the industry, we got some amazing candidates, and we still have amazing candidates. Like when we did the post about a month ago or so, everybody's wondering like, well, am I going to get a job? It's like, there's a process to this. There's buildings coming online. So we put this ad up with anticipation of being able to prepare for it months in advance. And if, something else is happening in your career, that's amazing, good for you. But it allows us to really focus on, okay, we're not going to have these same mistakes we had. Let's really thoroughly go through these people and go through these lists and these names and their stories and what they're capable of.
Yeah, we're not throwing darts at the wall hoping to hit the board.
We're done.
This is very calculated, and I think that's been the big, and it was the expected learning curve, but moving from the process of being reactionary to being proactive. And like, you're always going to be reactionary when you're rolling out a big project because you don't know what curveballs are going to be coming. But once you gain your footing and like where you stand, then you move from that place of reacting. And now we're like very strategy driven, and you can see it. I mean, like the results have become more and more predictable. So moving through that natural evolution, obviously, was a little painstaking at first, but it's what to expect, and it's definitely not for everyone.
Right.
I mean, you're really the person who's been behind this, and you bear the brunt of like all of those difficulties, and like that could definitely break someone in the first few months. I mean, thankfully you weren't broken.
I feel like I think I can accredit a lot of that too is just like all the crazy things that I've overcome. And now at this point, I like nothing. It's interesting, but like there's no reaction to anything that's like surprising. Like I'm almost expecting worst case scenario at all times. And it's just like, stick and move, pivot. I think one of our podcasts was about pivoting, and it's in cultivation, you're constantly pivoting because you've done everything you think you've done right, the same as last time, which you got your amazing results. And then like, well, why is this happening? Why is this fucking plant stretching so hard when we did everything so perfect? And so cultivation is just a constant pivot and nothing ever going as expected. So what do you do in those situations? You just take a deep breath and you look at what's in front of you and how do we resolve it and move forward to see another day without losing our cool and falling apart.
It's a great point. That's literally what separates the people who are cultivators from operators, because the operator knows how to pull the levers when it's not going as planned. Just like cultivating every day. And when I say cultivator, I'm talking about like, maybe you're not the director of cultivation, but like you're a cultivation technician, or you may be working under a series of people, and like you can do the task at hand. You can follow the directions, but it's the moment when the directions no longer applicable is when you're really tested as a cultivator, and you become more of an operator because you start looking at the way in which different variables play into whatever results you may be seeing or not seeing. We saw this in a room recently, our best room probably yet. Day 21 was like nothing to write home about. It was like pretty sad, excess nitrogen, downward curl that was, ram's horn, like textbook. And we just like totally steered the ship back on course and hit what should be a record for the facility. It would be hard to not have this be a record, but it was a big moment of like,
the only reason it might not be a record is we had to remove one of those benches, but true. I really think like these plants are gonna throw down crazy. And then another cool thing is the majority of that room, 90% of it, everything came from Ian at Uncle Dad Vibes. So like firsthand, what we've seen, I'm going to get a little off topic here, but like firsthand, what we've seen come from Ian, fucking mind blowing. Like what he puts out over and over when he hunts other people's gear and picks a winner, when he breeds, like everything that Ian has shared with us and given us, best results we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been here, Ian's stuff, hands down, it's been just amazing. It's been unreal. And when the new stuff comes through and the vigor of recently hunted genetics, I mean, it's crazy.
And then just the stuff that he's created. I mean, the cutthroat candy is all him. That thing, I love growing that strain. I love the way it grows.
We could just grow that.
I know. I'm excited about the crosses and then he created crosses with that. And there's stuff we haven't even seen yet. Like there's the Dolomite, the purple Dolomite to the fucking cutthroat. And there's all these other crosses. So anyways, we had a room full of his stuff. And I mean, just amazing. The size was bigger than this water cup and crazy terp, crazy frost. Like the pictures I'm seeing coming out of the social club with the splash are just incredible.
I mean, it harkens back to like the difficulty in really successfully pulling off a big project like this is like everything's got to fall into place. Like you have someone like Ian providing genetics that are really going to elevate the rooms, the build out that you designed and oversaw remotely and on site, having the right crew members that actually believe in your strategies.
That's
and
the biggest
leadership.
Thing.
That is the biggest thing. But they all play in because it's like, great, awesome crew, incredible Lamborghini of a facility, and you've got HLV with all your strains, right? Like it could easily, so much has to be at play in order to be successful. But when it hits, it really...
And then like it's so important. It's so easy for people to be away when you're a certain way when you're there. And then when you leave, so like just the fact that the crew respects us, they listen to us. I think it really resonates with them that they see that what we're doing and what we're trying to show them is rewarding for everyone, because that's what it's coming down to. And when you're harvesting amazing flower and the scale's 2,000 grams a plant wet weight, like that team is excited. Like last time I went to Michigan, we were taking room 2 down. We pulled 2 boxes out of there. Like, dude, the morale on that there's only, I guess I was number 6, but we did that whole thing in 8 hours and it was hung so, the flow was just so great. Like, and I remember the first time we harvested and these people and shit's all over the floor and like, I was just reflecting for like hours as I'm hanging these plants and like, man, this is exactly how I pictured this. We got rolling Z carts coming in and out. You know, Matt had this great idea with putting this foam down and filleting the plant down onto the foam so it doesn't hit the table. And I've never had that before. I'm like, why didn't I think about this? But like just seeing the movement and the flow of the team and the fucking flower being produced and how excited the ripple effect. The entire packaging team, the trim team, the owner of the facility, Mark, everybody's excited. And everything comes back to growing. That's what, like, it's real easy to forget and be some fucking corporate fucking company out there who just white labels and puts good shit in bags. And you don't realize like everything comes back to cultivation, the distribution, the manufacturing, the sales, the dispensary, everything comes back to cultivation.
Yeah, I mean, the inefficiency that can like build up as a result of poor product being grown. I mean, it's like demoralizing for a trim team to get a bunch of like,
Dude, I'll never forget like trimming through some of those bad runs you do is like pulling teeth, dude. It's just like
Horrible.
you're so like the morale is so down. You're just, and then the times where you got good weed and you're just so excited trimming it, it's just, yeah, it's night and day.
We have a great team out there now. Like we're very lucky to be working with passionate individuals who like also work well together.
Yeah. And then to say that, they're very lucky to work with us.
100%.
There's not a lot of leadership like I feel that we have that is so non-ego driven and just wants the best results for everybody. We'll get in there and do anything anyone's doing on a given day, teaching them everything we know, giving them our life lessons just, so that they can excel also, because that's what we want to see at the end of the day. We want to see people's lives change. Like that's what this is about, is like seeing people that are hungry for an opportunity, giving them an opportunity, and then watching them blossom. Like a lot of people have come up to me and been like, man, Lance, thank you so much for this. Or Ian said it today when I saw Ian. He's like, dude, thank you so much for, getting this going. And it's like, all I was a part of your puzzle. I didn't do this for you. You did this. I know it feels good to tell people like, man, thank you so much for what you've done. And this is because of you. No, it's because of you, and that you actually have the desire. There's a lot out there. If you really want to learn and you have desire, people are attracted to that. I'm attracted to somebody where I'm like, Alex, dude, this we talk about all the time. We're like, dude, look at the potential this person has. We can see things in people that they might not see in themselves, and their peers definitely don't see in them.
For sure.
And we can pick it up and be like, dude, I bet this person's going to excel. And then we see them excel.
And that's a really hard thing to be able to do. You're like a sorting hat, basically.
Yeah.
Like you start to understand like what someone could be for themselves and then also for your team. And we share that mentality of elevating people on our team. So like when one person gets elevated, it opens up an opportunity for the next person to get elevated.
Totally.
So it's also nice to present like, this person gets a promotion. What does that mean for everybody else? Well, it very well may mean everybody is getting pulled up and a new member enters the team to fill that lower position,
right,
to begin the cycle once again. That to me is like a fantastic way to run an organization. If you constantly poach new hires from outside of the building to fill every position of expertise, you're never, it's not really it's not a strong place to be.
Yeah.
Because when one person leaves, they leave with the keys to the castle. You never want that to be.
And that's an interesting thing to bring up, because we've also seen it in other places where both of you and I are very, very big on investing in your team. And we see so many operators investing in who they think is the next badass consultant. You know what I mean? We see a lot of projects be like, oh, this guy really looks like he's killing it online. Let's hire him. I was one of those people. Oh, dude, have you seen Craft Farmer? Have you seen what he does with LEDs? Dude, call him. Like, we've seen so much of that. And then like that consultant can come, help out, then they leave, then another one comes. They come, they help out, they leave, then they go look for another one. And all along, you have Mike standing there who's been running your show and working with the consultants, but you're not putting your power and your effort and your energy into Mike, because you're so busy seeing other people crush it from such afar, and you're building something in your mind that not necessarily there.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, that trend that you just described of having an external expert basically steering your ship only to replace them with the next shiny expert who comes 6 months later. I think, a lot of facilities fall victim to like that being their primary operator. And it's unfortunate because it limits your staff. And it usually is limiting them for reasons that are completely unfounded. You're hoping that that person is going to give you the yields that you want. But you also may face the reality that like it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with your infrastructure. It has to do with your build out. And then you're just cycling through them, just one after another. Versus we started out with a solid foundation and we focused more on training,
for sure,
and leadership, and not the next shiny object. And it's really, we're seeing our staff rise to the occasion.
I mean, we could have gone out and hired a plethora of different killers. We focused on people more with heart, without as much commercial experience, but thinking of them from like heart, excitement. We're going to have a much better understanding. And with all of the components available to us now, we can, I mean, I hit up Mark today. I'm like, I want access to the cameras. That's the only thing we're missing. We can see temperature. We control temperature, humidity, climate, root zone, EC, pH. We can control all that from a computer and see that. We're not on hand to like every day lead the team into war and lead your warriors. We wanted warriors on site. We can teach the rest. Like we can teach and develop and build processes and put together fucking SOPs. Like we've done that by the back of our hand. What we can't do is we can't build soldiers. We need to find people with that grit and that desire who want to be in the fucking trenches, in the mud, in the wet, and don't have a problem with that. Because everybody says they want it. Like you look through all of the fucking applications we got and everything. Everybody says they want it. But like, as you know, very few want that heat when it comes time to like do all that shit every day, day in, day out. Fucking, it's a crazy job if you think about it. Like,
it really is.
You don't even get to enjoy the fruits of your success, and you're scrubbing a fucking table and hoping your clones you cut 2 weeks, it's like, it's gone. Oh, you hit PR, yeah, slice of pizza. Okay, time to fucking scrub tables and transplant. You harvest a record, and the next morning, it's behind you.
You're spraying.
You're scrubbing. It hangs for so long, you've forgotten about the amazing thing. Sure, you'll get an insight again, maybe, if they're trimming near you and you get to see the bags, but most of the time it's just, we fly out there to see the flower before it goes because you'll never see it again.
Yeah, we're like itching to see photos because it's going to be gone so fast that really the window.
Mark's a fucking selling machine, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, thank you, Michigan. But yeah, this facility is by no means like an employee meat grinder. Like we are not turning people out and just like breaking them down to move on to the next ones. We really have, and you know, I know from my past experience at the last facility I was at, I mean, look at the body count that place produced. Yeah. I mean, literally like I don't think there's a single staff member lasted like 6 months. I mean, it says a lot when people show up every day with that passion to do this incredibly difficult job with a smile on their face and like grow with us. So yeah,
and when we say difficult, it's more of the difficult as far as just the hamster wheel.
For sure.
There's going fucking 50 miles an hour, because that's what it is. Like every day we're calling, it's like, okay, did you cut here? Did you move this to this day? We're so... Dude, we designed this fucking calendar. I do not want to go through and change all these dates again. We have to hit these marks, and we have to hit them correctly and perfectly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel for them sometimes, and it's kind of just part of how this works. We're utilizing, the root zone data, the environmental data, and then we also do like a manual data collection as well as photos. And every day this stuff comes through. We do it 3 times a week. But when this stuff comes through, like we're picking it apart, and like that's helping us make our case to change components of our strategy. And these guys, it's like the moment the photos are sent, like if anything's off, they're going to hear about it. And it's not because we're trying to be nitpicky, but like that's our way of supporting our staff.
We're in the NFL.
And that's it.
The play has to go exactly according to how it was designed. If we call a play, an audible, whatever it is, I want to see the exact fucking route ran. No different.
Yeah, and there are definitely iPads being thrown on the sidelines, and that's okay. It's like part of it, but for sure, yeah, we are looking down and shifting our strategy accordingly, just like you would in any game. Where
Dude, it's exactly like that. If you think about when things change, calling different plays, you got, whatever has happened, it doesn't work. Depending on where you're at and what you're doing is going to depend on the play calls that you make.
Yeah, and there's things that are going to come at you that you wouldn't have expected, whether it be equipment failures, cooling units that, have freon leaks or power outages, record snowfall, and all of these things, they're not on your radar until they're banging at the door. And you got to be ready with a solution, and that's where the team comes into play. And thankfully, like between the leadership, the remote leadership we provide and what we've got on the ground, it seems like nothing's been insurmountable.
And the cool thing is, like, you see these guys, and like every time I look at them, like, man, where's Jeff going to be in 2 years? Where's Matt going to be in 2 years? Where's Chris going to be? Where's AJ going to be? Like, I'm already picturing them doing bigger things within the space, like, I've been doing it so long, I can already see their movements and see what they do next, and see them running facilities, and God willing, and they all stick it out.
Yeah, the unique thing about this project is there are multiple facilities coming online, so it makes it so like the opportunity for growth in the organization is really like nothing I've ever seen, because it's so rare that you have your foundation for the first facility, they're given the opportunity to literally, like, you choose your ending. It's like one of the old Goosebumps books, like, choose your ending. Like, how do you want this to go? You want to stay at the liver noise facility, or are you going to be headed to the next building when it comes online in spring? And not that we want everybody to leave, like,
right,
but the moment somebody slides out means somebody else there can replace them. So it's this incredible revolving door, but that door opens into different buildings. So
yeah,
it is really exciting.
And just the fact that we've been given this, like, I think about this every day, like, yeah, we're totally capable and we can do this, and all of that is really cool. But the opportunity that we've been given out there, you and I, and the immense amount of respect and what's the word I'm looking for when you just like really rely on somebody and respect them. Like, we were given the keys to the kingdom and not questioned.
Yeah, it's unique.
And that's very unique, and has really allowed us to perform and do our job like this. And it's so unique because, like, when you think about it in hindsight, you're like, no, never do that. Like, no, you don't ever want to like put all your eggs in these people's basket. But we're a different group. Whereas, like, I mean, it's hard to talk about this stuff just on the podcast, but like nobody knows our sacrifices, and like we're in this project more than anyone is in anything. You know what I'm saying? So like, at the same time, we've proven that, Mark picked the right people, but to be able to work with somebody like that who respects you so much that they'll be like, look, you make all the decisions. We hire, we fire, we implement, we pick our own genetics. We do everything as if that facility is owned by us here in town, which is really amazing.
I don't know of a whole lot of people who have been given anything that resembles an opportunity like that. Usually the person at the top is completely unwilling. They'll duplicate the keys,
yeah,
but they're also going to change the locks real fast if they start getting a little antsy. This is unique for sure.
And he was with he maintained and stuck through us in that really challenging time when we could have been let go because of other people's performance that was outside of our control. But the fact that we realized that, shifted, I think speaks a whole lot. You know, I just remember going to him and be like, look, we need to fire everybody here, and we need to get rid of him and tell him not to come in tomorrow. And dude, Mark didn't even say a word to me. He's like, okay, do you have this? I was like, dude, I give you my word. I've got it. And he's like, okay. He's never questioned me on any decisions or called and been like, do you know what you're doing? Like, are you sure about this? Like all this shit that I've gotten over the years, and it makes me so invested in. At the end of the day, I don't think about my success. I think about him and how I want him to be so successful just because of what he believed in me for. Like, that's all I think about. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why, again, we're so invested in this project, and we look at it. We don't just come in on a Monday, Tuesday, when do our little bait. Like, we're invested in this place. We'll go out there and stay and sleep and be in that facility to him. Like, and there's nothing I would change, you know? I fucking love it. And all I want to do is give him work and yields and make that fucking monster happy because of the opportunity we've been given. It's very rare.
Extremely rare to place that level of trust. But like, by doing that, the speed at which you moved to replace the whole crew was fucking breakneck. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, oh wow, we have a crew. Like, it was just, you know, snap your fingers, and we were operating with a whole new set of faces and doing it
on a much higher level.
And just continued to build that out. So it's just like, yep, we stumbled with another hire for a number of reasons. It's, you know, it's never personal. That's an important thing to highlight. It just didn't work, and pivoted again and brought in actually someone that ended up being from my network back east, which is ironic.
Which couldn't have been a better pickup either.
No, it was a fantastic pickup, and I laugh because I never worked with this person. They technically I was replaced as director of cultivation, and then they took over my replacement's position. They never met me. All they heard about was the worst things about me because the previous owners of the facility.
That's what they do. They drag our name through the mud and shit.
Yeah, I mean, just like
low class bodies,
horrible, and whatever, you know. But what he did know was that I was totally respected by everybody who was in that building when I was there. And sure enough, after hearing all of this negative feedback about who I was, reaches out looking for a job. So it goes to show.
That's wild, though. Like, knows you left and moved all the way to California, and instead of sticking to a very small, isolated network and being like, what's available right here in this brand new emerging network where there's really not very many opportunities, can look outside of that. And that's what I love, because we hire a lot of people out of state. I don't care where you live. If you check all the fucking boxes, I'll give you a job.
Yep.
And it's so important for all these people that step out of their comfort zone, they fucking blossom. Dude, like seeing, you know, like, and I don't know a lot because we're not super personal, but just the time I've been with Jeff and seen what he's doing at this facility and watching him blossom, and like, dude, he's gonna be a fucking machine one day.
And I don't know that much about him either,
but he's perfect. Like, just his personality and the way that he speaks, and there's a right place and a right time for emotion and allowing your frustration and that kind of stuff to get the best of you. But the reality is, when you're in these positions, you can't just fucking act out and yell and scream and fucking curse, and nobody likes that.
No, and if you're a leader, there's really no room for it.
You can't be fucking like some of these, with some of these TV shows when the kings and they're not getting their way and they're losing their mind. And it's like, he does so well keeping his composure through all kinds of different challenges and new employees and going. And I couldn't be happier or wish that we had a different person in that position, and then it's just really cool to see what they're doing. And again, don't ever be afraid and don't ever hesitate to go after what you want. I'm sure that a lot of people are intimidated because we're human beings. You might not want to approach somebody or go after what you necessarily want, or be like, oh my God, there's Tyler from King's Garden, dude. That dude's a fucking beast. Oh shit, I'm not going to go talk to him. Like, that dude's on an elite level. Like, oh fuck, dude, there's Mitten Master. Oh shit, I'm not going to go say anything. What do I say to him? Like, there's Craft Farmer, there's Ramsey, there's Alex. Dude, he runs the Patreon. Like, don't allow that intimidation to get in your way of what you want in life. Like, you want to go work for fucking Tyler? You go tell him, yo, Tyler, like, I'm fucking Joe and I really want to work for you. Here's why. Here's what I can do. You better fucking do what you say. But I love that shit. Like, me, I thrive on that. Like, you contacting, dude, I fucking told you to come out here, hired you on the spot. You know what I mean?
It's true. You told me a week later, I flew out and
we hit it off right away.
Yeah, we did. We had like a whole day of like just shooting the shit,
hanging out at the table. Yeah, and I knew right then. I'm like, dude, this dude's gonna take me to another level. And then, just like MJ BizCon, we hired Jeff, and we hired Matt at MJ BizCon. Dude, Matt and Jeff, both of them came up to me and was like, Lance, we want to work for you in Michigan. Say no more.
And that's our 1 and 2.
There's our 1 and 2. And Matt will be running his own facility in no time.
Yeah, it's when you break through whatever insecurities you have to just initiate that conversation and believe in yourself. I mean, that's where it all starts. And no, it's fine. It's just with Jeff, he moved out
2 weeks.
Yeah, that's how quickly he did. He was like, "Oh, I'll just get an Airbnb."
We were at the Athena culture party. It's fucking 12 o'clock. We're pounding tequila shots, drinking beer. It's so fucking loud. Music's pounding, fist pumping, dancing girls. And this fucking dude comes up to me. He's got like this skunk fucking haircut looking like black, white. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? And he was just like, hey, Lance, my name's Jeff. I really want to work for you. This blah, blah, blah. We talked for just like a little right there. I think Matt was there. I think Matt was standing there and Dylan was standing there. We talked for just a little bit and I'm like, okay. And I got out my phone and I'm like, okay, so it's a Saturday and can you be there December 14th? Monday morning? And he was like, yes, I'll be there. That changed his fucking life. We don't even know right now what Jeff's going to turn into. And what his capabilities are.
So many doors.
That was a life-changing. I would not be surprised if he doesn't buy a house in the next calendar year.
And with Matt, he runs his own. He's got his own thing.
Dude, Matt's a beast too.
Real comfortable.
The moment I met Matt, I liked Matt. I just knew he was fucking different. He was special. He has just like this super authentic. My word is fucking everything. This super old school mentality. Family man, tight with his family. Dad, uncle, like hearing him talk about his family and how these people have played a role in his life and everywhere he tells me all the time, he's like, man, Lance, everywhere I go, if I mention my uncle's name or my dad's name, like everybody in Detroit knows them and says that their name is gold standard. And I can just tell the way he moves and talks, and like, dude, he's going to be that gold standard himself. You know, he sees that at a young age, and his principles are just so in line with the truth. Like, when you have a relationship with someone, like, they reach out to you and they tell you things, and you can learn a lot from the shit they're sharing with you. Oh man, dude, like, this dude owes me money, and why does he owe you money? Oh man, I helped him. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you feel you're entitled. So you're saying that you're entitled to that money. Like, there really isn't any deal there, but like how you've processed that conversation, you're entitled. You know, Matt is very like, doesn't mince words or agreements, or, you know, he's just very, very old school.
I mean, I just got off the phone with him before we got on camera, and what I love about both of them is they own everything.
Everything.
Success, failure.
Never once, and I'm just like, this is really just coming up now, is like, I'm so used to people being like, oh man, dude, that doesn't look good because of James. Oh, dude, Teresa. You know, just throwing like, what does that have to do? Like, always, there's those people that are always pointing the finger. Oh, Chris fucked up the cuts, or they've never pointed the finger at anybody.
And it makes it so easy to grow into the next day, because it means like, we're not hiding behind narratives and stories and, you know, backroom dealings. Like, the truth is, like, we're all on the same page. And when we talk about running this facility remotely, that's what you need. And the stars have to align. You've got to attract it. I mean, thankfully, Craft Farmer attracted it. Attracted me coming out here to work with you, us working on this project together, Jeff, Matt, Chris, AJ, like, everybody gets brought into the fold for a reason, but it really starts with like the beginning, which was Craft Farmer attracted it.
We've also attracted some bad apples as well. We just have to deal with it.
Slay a few dragons to get the princess.
We do.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like, you're going to have tough employees, but you don't sleep on the reality of it.
Right. Because we've even, I mean, and again, like speaking earlier about going after what you want, there's been a few people that we've hired that look terrible on paper, and it's like we've given them the chance. Even though it might not have worked, we're like, look, this isn't working out. Here are all the reasons why. At the end of the day, like, I'm really proud that I give people opportunities, even if they can't fucking put together a resume, or they can't do this, or they can't do that. Like, you know, I think about my education and what I can do and what I can't do, and I would make anything, but I don't have the tools. I have my imagination. You know, my imagination can fabricate and make me a resume, let's say, and I didn't have one or didn't know how to do it. Like, some people don't always have those skills to think fast or think what, like, sometimes we'll be like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't think to do this? And then that makes me realize, like, okay, not everyone's going to have those skills. And even against better judgment, I still make those decisions based on just people's personal experience, or I randomly roll the dice, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is easy to look at mistakes and past judgment. And you got to give people room to grow. I mean, it's true.
It's hard because, like, if, like, just as a genuine caring person and seeing all these people, like, I want to give everyone an opportunity. You know, like, I have a very soft heart when it comes to, like, seeing someone and, like, here's this dude who lost everything he had, and instead of me focusing on, like, well, why did he lose everything, and why doesn't he have a grow, and why doesn't he have his multi-million-dollar fucking cloning operation, and why does, like, how come you don't have a pot to piss in? But okay, fuck it, like, let's give him a chance, you know?
Which is incredible. I mean, it's a big heart. It's honest, and I know sometimes it comes back to bite, but but not always.
No.
It also can mean like this person got the opportunity that nobody else was going to give them.
We have a very unorthodox style of hiring. You know, it's definitely very different. Obviously, we have to do the resumes and the paragraphs, and I want to see who sticks out, but a lot of it is just like thinking about what we've gone through and what we do and making sure that somebody can get on the fucking hamster wheel and not want to jump off in a couple weeks or a month or 2 months. Like, we don't want to give you the 20 years of fundamentals and all this special knowledge and everything we do. And we don't, whether you're a $16 guy or running the facility, like, we put a lot of energy into these people and caring about them and their life and everything else. So we want everyone to succeed, but we also want people to get opportunities that they might not necessarily have in their life if they weren't given a chance.
Yeah. And if somebody says like, I believe in what we're doing, like maybe I don't understand it, but I believe it, then you can work with that.
Right.
The moment somebody like, you know, all their laurels, all their successes become like basically all they have to offer, all they have to present, and they're being tested and they're just hearkening back to days gone by when they used to be, you know, king shit, but they don't believe in the new strategy or the new approach, and, you know, industry's changed a lot. That's when like, okay, red flag, because if you don't believe, the next problem that we face, we're probably not going to be doing it together.
Right.
And that's where we've seen some the bad apples have unfortunately sunk in the barrel for us. Is when people, if they don't trust, they don't respect.
Again, at the end of the day, none of this works unless everybody's like 1,000% into it. And I'm not talking like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Like, you're so invested in the project that it's a big proportion of your life, you know?
It's starting something. That's the hardest thing to do. Like these.
But then also just maintaining and producing the same thing every time.
That's hard too.
Very, very challenging in the space. Not to be the guy that has like, oh man, this room's burned out or yellow, like get the next one. And then you have 2 good ones and one of those. And it's just constantly turning out good product and being able to follow up, because you're not remembered, but for anything but your last performance.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And then everyone's going to remember us by our last conversation, by the last things we tell them, by the last way we act. You know, all these things. So
our most recent Patreon post was like highlighting kind of like a failure that we were experiencing, and
which was very important because we focus on so much things of getting better and doing this right, and this looks like this because of this. Like that was such a perfect opportunity for us, and we're going to look for those things even more moving forward. You know?
Yeah, no, it'll be great to bring some Michigan content into the fold, so we can also, like, as we talk about, this is the beginning, like it's only up from here, but rest assured we've had plenty of obstacles along the way with.
That's dope. That'd be a great thing to do. Is we should start filming some Patreons when we go
That'd be incredible.
to Michigan.
Yeah, because there's lots of people out there who are aspiring to be at a commercial level, and I think what we offer is incredible insight into all scales of production, because we utilize the same strategies that we do in Michigan as we do running 10 lights or 20 lights.
Same exact thing.
Or in a tent. And it's incredible how it's all relevant, and kind of at the backbone of what we do is not understanding what to do, but why we do it. because that's what makes it transferable. So kind of a plug for like all of our teaching material is guided by that principle. And I think the success we're seeing in Michigan kind of embodies like, I mean, you've been in how many grow rooms in your life?
A lot.
It's all a culmination of that. And it's why it's worked so well, because there is nothing foreign at this point. Like it's all been seen before in one form or another.
Right. Totally. So a big part of this, something to really think about is following your heart, going in approaching the people that you think will help you get to where you want in your career. Never closed mouths don't get fed. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. All these have come from going and getting what you want, and be prepared to be denied or say no or not. Like that should never demoralize you or change your direction or the impact of how bad you want something. It just wasn't meant to be in that situation. You'll always, it's like trying to get from point A to point B and there being a roadblock. Like there's always another way around it. And so I've always been that squeaky wheel my whole life. Like I'll never forget it. Like with everything, when I wanted to go work at Mercy at their cultivation, I hit up Brandon every day. I'm like, dude, I'm the fucking man, and here's why. You know what I mean? Like every day. When I found out that facility was opening, I'm like, dude, I'll go work there. You don't got to pay me nothing. Like I'll show you, and it's cool seeing people sometimes reach out to us and be like, dude, I'll come work for a week and show you that I'm the one. It's like, okay, like this fucking dude might be cut from the same cloth. Like that's the easiest way for me to show anybody is show them what you're worth is just show up and do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's a pool of 100 people. You're like, look, dude, let me just show you what I'm capable of. Like I'll clean toilets like nobody's ever cleaned them. You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to do a job the right way. And that's just looking at what you're doing and being like, I'm not going to cut any corners. Because at the end of the day, you can look at yourself in the mirror and know if you gave it half-ass or if you gave it everything that you can. It's very easy.
Regardless of what it is.
Regardless of what you're doing. I don't care. I'm not a cleaner. I don't like cleaning. But if cleaning this room meant showing up to someone, I'd fucking clean it like it's never been cleaned before.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are better than you, because I think like that is how you really lift yourself up is being surrounded by a solid team. And then approaching that everything you do with the same mentality. It's not, well, I'm going to really try when it's a flower room and I really don't care when it's a reset.
Right.
Mid-cycle matters. Reset doesn't. I'm going to let the other guys scrub faster or
harder. I'm going to, yeah. It's like when you're in the tug of war. Okay. Remember when we were younger and we were in the tug of war and you're fucking pulling and you're pulling with all your might. It's so easy to just like take a break and
let someone else
pull and still act like you're pulling.
Yeah.
But only you at the end of the day know if you pulled really fucking hard the whole time. That's a very easy one to fake.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
we all were there.
Dude, I remember being like that little fucking fat kid who was like, oh my God, my hands are bright, and like letting off for a minute, and then it starts going like, you matter. You fucking matter. I don't care where you are on your team. You have a position and you matter. It's noticed when you're not there. So don't ever make it so someone has to tell you you matter. Like you just know. You know what I mean? It's almost like, and I've been here too when I'm younger, is like wanting pats on the back. Like, oh man, like I want to be acknowledged. I want my boss to tell me how good I am and how amazing I am. And that doesn't fucking matter. You have a job and you're paid to be that amazing person. This took me a long time to understand, is like, I'm not owed anything. By getting this paycheck, by being paid, by being employed, This person is expecting the very fucking best from me 100% day in and day out. The moment I don't feel good or I slack, I'm fucking them.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
And I hear people like, just the other day, I was in a hardware store and the guy was like 55 on the other side, you know, and he's checking me out and he's like, yeah, man, you know, I've been a painter for 40 years. And I was like, oh, okay. You're retired now? He's like, yeah, I'm retired, you know, just doing this. But they heard that I was a painter and, you know, told me I could paint the bathroom. Well, they better take care of me. And I'm like buying some fucking hose clamps, you know, and I'm like, don't you already get taken care of? And the guy's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you are paid by this. So whether you're checking me out, you're scrubbing cemented shit on the back of the toilet that's been there for a year, or you're painting the fucking bathroom, what does it matter? Like, dude, I would get rid of this motherfucker in a second. Like that meant I hate that mentality.
It's bad energy to bring with any
Dude,
endeavor in life.
I've hired people before and they're like, dude, that's not my job. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like you're hired for cultivation. Yeah, man, I'm not doing that. Like, what the fuck do you think you do? Like, you're going to sit in your truck? You're some GC that comes out with your fucking tape measure and checks some rafter points and angles and like, no, like, I want to slap the shit out of you. That's the only thing that I don't like is if someone's like, man, I ain't doing that. Like, why aren't you doing that? Because I would do everything plus 1,000. I don't give a fuck what it is. I don't care how nasty it is. I'm taking a shower at the end of the day. Like this doesn't, if anything, this shows you how badass I am. I look for those opportunities.
And I think what you're describing, you see it with a lot of really successful people.
Especially these motherfuckers who think that, dude, and there's a dime a dozen of them. I'm an elite cultivator. I don't have to fucking do that. These dudes who are partners in projects and show up to a building and don't lift a finger to help and don't work when they're there. What did you go there for? You want eyes? Like people can take some pictures for you. You're not going to work. You're not going to show up and work in the facility that you're a part of. I'm not fucking having that at all. And that's why I think like I'm on a different level than a lot of my peers. It's not because I think I'm better, but like I see how they act and how they go places and I'm this and I've earned this. And it's like, dude, you fucking earned this. So have I, but I'm going to do anything with my team. I'm going to be in there scrubbing my tables with my team. I want them to know that when I fucking tell them to jump, they say how high, because that's what I do. I jump when someone asks me something. I don't care if it's Jeff, if it's Matt, if it's fucking Mark, if it's you, I do it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is the real.
Whatever someone tells me to do, if you tell me to do something, I'm not like, fuck that, Alex. You work for me. I'm not fucking doing that. I go do it. You know, like that's important to me that everybody respects me the way that I respect them.
Yeah.
There is no somebody being better than you. Like I might have more years and I've gotten to my ladder, like the top of my ladder, but you could be flights of stairs down there, but you're going to surpass me. I'm never thinking I'm higher than anyone.
Yeah, and it shows with everything that you do related to this project or not related to this project. It's the same mentality. It goes back to how this part of the segment started, which is you do everything the same.
Right.
That is the recipe for success.
If you treat life that way, in everyday life, if you treat everyone else how you want to be treated, if you act how you want other people's around you to act, if you lead, dude, it's good. And it's very rewarding.
Very rewarding. Because you know at the end of the day that you can hang your hat on what you did. Regardless of the compliment sandwich that someone served you or the pat on the back.
So some huge lessons that let's do this. I'm going to talk about some lessons that I've learned, and then you share some lessons that you've learned on this project. One of the biggest lessons that sticks out to me is when something is not going right, instead of just allowing it to continue and snowball, which is always the easiest thing, thinking that you can fix things, thinking that you can change someone, there's a really good chance you can't, and you just have to deal with that head on and not be afraid to terminate a contract, let somebody go, fire someone, trim the fat, because it's going to require more work for you. You have to do that, even if you don't know how you're going to do it, but you're going in you're heading towards a collision. You have to avoid it at all costs. That was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. And I didn't even know that I was capable. Like in the beginning with this project, I thought I had to have that. I was like, dude, I'm not going to hire people and train them and get them to follow my lead. Oh my God, dude, there's no way. Like everybody has issues with labor. There's no way. You know, and Mark's like, you're never going to find anyone out here. So the laziest motherfuckers you'll ever meet in your life. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to have these people. No, you don't have to have anything. You don't fucking need anything. You can create anything yourself. You are limiting yourself, telling yourself, I did that. I fucking have to have this labor contract. We can only do this project if this person's involved. Constantly, my lessons have taught me that I'm way more capable than what I think I am most of the time. That was a huge lesson. Not taking anything personal. You know, like, fuck you. You don't know how to grow. The people that you terminate, these dummy motherfuckers, think that they can message the big man and be like, get rid of this Cali guy. Like, I'll take his position. Don't ever let that shit bother you. Don't even frown. Don't at them. Don't come at them. They're fucking dead. They're cancer. As much as we want to help everybody, there's dead-ass fucking zombies who walk amongst us.
A lot.
And we deal with them every day. And although our heart's in the right place and we have the true intent, you can't help people when they're too far poisoned. I use that a lot as like a comparison. I think of like venom and the venom taking over. Like if you look at your blood and it's red and it starts turning dark purple, a lot of people can't come back from those venomous, toxic places they're in their life and what's happened, and they're fucking zombies. So just never allowing anyone that doesn't matter to get into your feelings or your emotions or manipulate how you feel. You know, you're losing. Those are two big things. And then busting your fucking ass, like never letting off the throttle. You say you're going to do something, you do it. And you don't need to be pat on the back. You don't need someone to tell you, hey man, you're doing a good job. You know, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror and you brush your teeth at night and you're looking at the face of the person looking back at you, you know what you got away with that day. You know where your shortcomings are. You know the things that you did wrong. You know and not saying you do all these things. I'm just saying when you do, you know if you're a liar. You know if you told a lie. You know if you took something from someone. Be the fucking best you can be, because any little cheating, letting go of the rope, and relying on everyone else, you're cheating yourself. Anything that you do and you look in the mirror and you can peel it out, do not do that the next day. You're only holding yourself back. So those are the three biggest. And the fourth for me is always never judge someone by a past experience. If I have an issue with somebody, I'm not going to not trust the next person. It's not fair. You know, the easiest way to compare this is if you're in a relationship and you were cheated on. It is not fair to potentially go into your next relationship. I know that it hurts and trust and we're humans and all this shit, but like you could potentially sabotage your next relationship, your next hire, your next friend, your next girlfriend, your next employer. You can sabotage your own situation based on rumors, based on negative fake bullshit that other people say. You can easily sabotage yourself. You can be manipulated by others to make them think something about you. Same thing with Jeff. If Jeff had been manipulated and thought that you were a bad person, that would have lost the opportunities that he's created for himself in this amazing life path. So those are the big 4 for me.
Yeah, this is a hard one because there are so many lessons to distill it into a few, but the number 1 is don't get emotional when things are not going right. Don't get emotional and start making assumptions about how things are, what the reality of the situation is. Listen. I think you got to always take the time to ask questions, have a conversation, and connect to begin to understand why the outcome is what it is and how can we make it better. Everything needs to be viewed as an opportunity, but you also have to have a measured hand in understanding what that mistake is and how to move forward. And it's really easy to be reactionary, especially if you know better, or if you caught somebody doing something incorrect, or you caught somebody like literally, sidelining respect because, for whatever reason. Don't get emotional, because that, one, it's a waste of your own energy and efforts. And it's really difficult to develop the trust if every poor outcome leads to some emotional blow up. So that's the big one, because we've had so many trials and tribulations during this project.
And blow-ups.
Oh, and blow-ups.
A lot of people running their mouth.
So it's like, okay, it's very easy to play into that dynamic. And somebody out there, if you can tell me how that would be beneficial, I'd love to hear it, because from my personal experience, and I'm sure Lance can relate and agree, like, it just isn't going to pay itself in spades to become emotional.
I mean, we've seen it happen. 2 out of 3 that we've let go went and just spewed to anyone that wanted to listen, and tried to go over our head and spew to the owner of this facility. Didn't have one effect on me. I was not concerned at all. I brought that person in. You think I wanted to let them go? Not at all.
Yeah. That's the last thing you want.
Not at all. I'm investing in this. How can I see this for you, but you can't see it for yourself?
It's a big one. And it's a hard, it's literally a hard lesson, because it's very easy to point the finger, play the blame game. But when you're in it for the long haul, I think you got to put emotion aside and be practical, be pragmatic, really take space before you decide on whatever the outcome, you're hoping for. Really take space, take stock in how you may have played into the negative outcome and how you can be better. So that segues into the second one, which is never exclude yourself from the poor results, because it may be an employee's issue, but it may be really a managerial problem. So if you're not empowering your leaders, if you're not training your team, if you're not giving them the tools they need to succeed, don't begin to blame anybody for a poor outcome. That comes down to leadership. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall, but it's really where you truly have the opportunity to grow is what comes next. So that's 2. And then the third is never underestimate a new facility. You don't know what a facility, you could have an incredible build out. It could be spec to previous builds. You may be familiar with the equipment. When you're getting to know a facility and its quirks and its idiosyncrasies, which is always going to happen, really make sure that you've got your senses dialed all the way up, because it's a learning process for understanding what the ship is and how you're going to begin to steer it. I never grew under HPS lights. I could easily have taken some rubber stamped, set point schedule.
Well, we did that.
Well, we did.
And we changed it.
Yeah, we changed it. And that's the truth is we started, but we didn't come hot out of the gate. We like really watched everything.
Well, we realized kind of for like we're a few minor changes from being where things should be. So why wouldn't we do that?
Correct. So one, don't take somebody else's word as
gold.
You have to do it for yourself. And also trust yourself because
exactly,
there's certain things you just know better. It's like, when you're hitting a certain point in the cycle and you're not seeing irrigation events start to increase and your VPD is still sitting really low and you typically are running it much higher with a lot more feed hitting that root zone, start to adjust to figure out why it is that you're underfeeding these plants in terms of volume, because if you're not feeding them enough, they're not going to put up the wet weight you're after, and it's not going to translate to dry. So little things like that, trust yourself, trust your experiences, and also take the time to understand what it is you're actually doing. And then to cap it at 4 is always believe in your team through the tough times, through the successes. Believe in your team, be there to support your team, because those are the people who really make it work day in and day out. And you have to give those people the utmost respect, because that hamster wheel can absolutely burn you out. So the people who climb back into that facility every single day of the week to support your project, your vision, and really taking that experience you have and projecting it to a larger than life scale, those people deserve respect at their lowest moments as well as their highest.
I feel like cultivation is the marathon. In the race where you have to hand the battalion to the next person, they're running and you're running, like they're running full speed and there's the handoff, except we don't finish the race. It's just an ongoing circle that then starts back at the first person getting the battalion again.
Yeah. It never stops. So there's really not a whole lot of room.
Dude, if you're really on top of it, like when we call and we're like, dude, did you guys cut today? That calendar is mapped for the entire calendar year. That calendar technically is mapped till that facility shuts down.
Yeah, in perpetuity. It's like one of those clocks where once it's set into motion.
Correct. It doesn't stop.
It never stops. Yeah, it's incredible what you can build from afar. I always reflect on that with this project. Granted, there's site visits happening, but still, like,
it's just amazing that it's still in all of its perplexity and so many people are multi-state operators and they have a licensing deal. They're not doing anything. And I think that's great. Like, that's amazing that they've built that and that they have that and that they can have this residual income. But to me, like, the fucking biscuits and gravy, I'm in the fucking trenches. Like, there's no replacing that. At the end of the day, when I look in the mirror, I'm in the fucking trenches in multi-states. I'm not a fucking licensing deal. And that feels really good. Like, that hard work and doing things that you didn't even know you believed in, or showing yourself that you can do more than you're capable of, is priceless. Like, bigger than any gift you can ever be given.
Yeah, the lessons that you reap from...
Dude, the last time I went there and, like, I got to the airport and I drive right to the facility, and walking fucking through that place empty and just reflecting on the first time I walked through it 14 months earlier, and fucking my life and the shit I've gone through and the shit I've gone through recently and overcome. And every time I get there, every night I walk through it, like, seriously brings tears to my eyes to, like, see that I'm, like, living my dream, and, like, we're accomplishing not only living my dream, living the lottery life. I'm doing everything that I've wanted to do in the moment. There's nowhere I would rather be than in Detroit at night in that fucking facility that I helped create. It's fucking wild, dude. It's so crazy if you get to have that feeling that you're doing what you love, there's no greater feeling.
Yeah, nothing else will suffice.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's like you feel it in your stomach. You know, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like there's this antsiness to it, and then there's this overcome of emotion, and you want to like reach out to 20 people at the same time. You know, these people that you care about and the people that you're doing things with. And I mean, you heard from me that night, and I'm just like, dude, Alex, you're not going to fucking believe this. You're probably like, oh my God, like, is it good or bad? You know, but
yeah,
like,
of course.
But it's just like, dude, I want to share that. Like, I'm so excited you're coming out on the next trip, because it's like, it's just different when you get to be there and experience all your work. You know, and I know that you've put so much work into that project. And I've been the one being like, okay, just wait, because it's going to be so much better. You know, like, I've wanted to just keep you at bay until you get to go out there and see it. And it's so feels so good.
Which is awesome. You know, I'm glad I didn't go when the first crew was there, because
you would have been disrespected.
It's not even the same facility.
No. They didn't listen. They would walk away from me when I was talking to them. These are people I brought out there.
It's crazy.
It was nuts.
It's
so like,
crazy.
I'm really glad all that's behind us. But now, like, I'm just really excited for you to go out there and to get to see. Like, I know how hard you work on it and how much time you put in, and you don't cut any. And I'm so thankful for you. So thankful for everything that you've done for me, everything that you've taught me. Dude, everything that I've learned from Patreon has far exceeded. If you hadn't come into my life and where I am right now without you, I wouldn't even be in the big leagues.
Wow.
I mean, you've helped elevate me to elevate other people that I don't think they'll ever even know. You know, and that's when you think about things like that, and you can think about like someone coming into your life and giving you these tools, and like, you might have had the strength, but like, just giving you maybe you were this incredible swordsman, this incredible steel blacksmith, and you built this amazing sword, but you just didn't know how to sharpen it. Like, there's such an art to sharpening, and I feel like that's like what you did for me. Like, you came and you fucking literally, all these barbaric weapons that I've had, and all these fucking swords that have delivered crazy blows over the years and drawn blood and gotten me all these victories. Like, you like showed up to my little my blacksmith area, and we're all war torn fucking gladiators, and like literally sharpened all of our weapons to like, I feel like we just took over the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I feel like when I go and talk to people and educate, and when people reach out to us for, you know, opportunities or needing help, you know, like, there's nobody better than us, I feel like.
No, I think together, what we've been able to do and what we will do.
And for those of the audience out there that take advantage of it, you know, for those that, I'd really encourage everybody, like, to just look at the Patreon. You don't even have to like sign up, but just go there and like read the posts. I feel like I went from having a fucking 4-year degree to a master's degree. Being able to, just what I've learned from you in 1 calendar year has changed my game incredibly. And that's all there for everyone else. And I'm not the type of guy that beats shit down people's throat. Like, it's there. You should really fucking capitalize it. I'm not going to tell you to. I'm going to do a post about it. I'm going to tell the audience every once in a while, but I cannot express how much this person has changed my life from the things that I've learned, both firsthand and what you've done on Patreon. You could be a professor and excel at it. You have a very, very special knack for teaching and helping people understand things where they might not normally get things. You know, I was never good at school, but like I understand the way that you deliver very, very well. I'll never touch a book. I'm never going to touch plant science, teaming with microbes, but I'll fucking read your post 1,000 times. And every time I fly, I read them over and over and over again.
I appreciate everything that you had to share, because it means a lot. Like, I don't look for that validity like we talked about earlier, but it still is always wonderful to hear.
It's got to feel good when, especially the person paying you, feels that way, you know?
I mean, and, you know, I think that's a hallmark component of who you are is like, yeah, a lot of employers wouldn't muster those words. Like
I mean, I tell Sarah fucking every day, I'm like, man, I go home every fucking day, and I'm like, dude, I'm so fucking so glad the Grow Gods brought me Alex, you know?
And I'm, you know, I've said this before, it's probably good that I'm not a teacher, and I am an operator at heart, you know, like that is who I've been for a long time. So when I digest this information and then share it, it's because I remember when I didn't have it. I remember when I did, like, I was operating, you know, basically
you drove 2 hours every direction to originally get, I don't think we've even shared this, but you drove 2 hours in each direction to trim just to hopefully get a future position with this company. Cultivating.
Yes. $16 an hour. Yeah. And I trimmed for a while, and I remember, I mean, I'm talking like probably 5 or 6 months.
That's why like for me too, like seeing you move across here and move it. I mean, I think we're in one of the most beautiful areas of the United States.
Incredible.
Like
Sonoma County's incredible.
All other areas are really beautiful, but like there's a lot of shit we don't deal with, treacherous winters and all this stuff, and we're 3 hours away from the Tahoe. We're an hour from San Francisco, the Golden Gate. We're 30 minutes from the ocean. We're 20 minutes from the most majestic redwoods in the United States. So like just to see you and like watch what you've done and getting a better place to live and thrive, like watching you like blossom and thrive is like, I love that shit. I love seeing people thrive. I love being able to it's not even taking credit. It's just being able to be some kind of catalyst, just some kind of an ingredient in the recipe. So rewarding.
It is. It's to be part of somebody's journey, and maybe that's delivering some really tough fucking news.
It is.
Maybe that's lifting somebody.
Trimming the fat. Like we've talked about this, like cutting out people in your life that you don't want to cut out, but could be holding you back. Like it goes the opposite way, you know, but what we get to do, man, like from educating people on the Patreon to being so instrumental to be instrumental with like our social club and networking and to be running a facility and be giving the chance to be giving even other facilities and hiring more people. And like, dude, growing was so rewarding for me. That I was good. I never even knew this fucking reward, this feeling even existed.
Whole different game.
Dude, I've been on a fucking rocket ship high for like the last 3 years. If you look at where I was 3 years ago when I first started at the facility, like just financially and things happening in my life and worry and doubt. I was talking to I can't remember who I was talking to about this the other day, but like, dude, for like 12 years straight, every night, like when I got home, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to like have enough money to live? And, you know, cause like everything was dollar to dollar with growing, even when pack prices were good before COVID. And it's a very, very challenging industry, and especially when you're on your own and there's no like retirement, there's nothing set up, and like our entire audience knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Like there's a good chance if you're a cultivator, there's the present and there's nothing else, you know? And once my mind just shifted, I was in, and I just focused strictly on the present and what I was doing and where I was going, and not like, you know what the fuck does, like, what bearing does this have on me? Like, this doesn't, thinking about this for hours and hours and hours and hours is not changing anything for me. It's not giving me anything. It's not opening my eyes up to anything. If I'm focusing on my career and how good I am and putting more time in and working harder and striving for better results, that's going to give me something. And that's when my life shifted and everything's taken, it seems like it's taken off, and I've manifested these amazing people in my life like you, the people that I get to work around. And like, now, when you're a fly on the wall in that dispensary, in Mark's dispensary, and people are coming in and they're fucking raving. I mean, I'm talking like 60 people in there at one time raving. Where's the craft farmer flower? Where's the Mark Savaya special? Mark's putting our shit in his bag with his face on it. Like, dude, the ripple effect just from working with people to like everybody smoking your weed and the energy we have. I don't give a fuck who you are, how bad your facility is. My weed has a different fucking type of energy because of the energy that goes into it.
That's where branding becomes real, because the brand embodies so much more than a logo.
Cannabis is the only plant that literally will sponge your fucking mood and your vibe. And like, real smokers, like, when they're like, dude, I got a vibe from this. Like, say it's just belief and it's all the other shit I talk about. It might just be fucking random, but it's very hard to think all this shit is random. There's no way all this shit's random. There's no way that I can attract someone like you and then we affect all these other people's lives. That's not random. That's like knowing when there's pure intentions, and I say this all the time, pure intentions, your heart is in the right place. That's when magic happens. If there's anything you want to focus on out there, it's your intentions and the purity of your heart. And that will take you to the fucking promised land.
Yeah, I see that with this project.
And like, the people that we attract, the people that come to work for us, and the excitement in them. You know, how many people do we hire and they're like, dude, fucking Mitten Masters, fucking everything.
It's so true.
You know, and like knowing Dylan as a very close friend of mine, like, dude, his intentions are so fucking pure and his heart is so full of love and in such the right place. Look what he does. Look what those people do who hold those spaces.
Yeah, and you talk to these people. I remember getting on the phone with Dylan. We had an issue, and like, dude's ready to climb into the facility and figure it out.
He will drop what he's doing and drive 2.5 hours and go put eyes on for something for us. Like,
it's crazy.
It's incredible.
So yeah, the energy of this project, I mean, it's just, you see it at every step, but it took a lot to get there.
It did. And we're just
starting. But we've never been in a better place than now.
No. So with that being said, to anyone out there listening, watching, get involved. Get involved somehow. Like, we want to help you. We got the social club for networking. That's been amazing. We've had multiple people pick up high fucking dollar, big facility jobs out of there. We've had all kinds of collaborations happen from there. People have worked with us from there, so that's been amazing. The Patreon, it's the smallest Patreon is that we have right now. We're about to launch Craft Farmer Academy. We've been working so fucking hard on that. We're going to shift everything over, but right now, that education that we put on there's I can't tell you how many people have been like, dude, this fucking slams anything else out there. Oaksterdam. We'll run game. Alex will never say this, but we will run game all over Oaksterdam. I will take fucking Oaksterdam straight to the paint. And I mean no disrespect with that. That's just how much I believe in us and the results that we have. We've had people, I have a customer in Colorado. Awesome guy. 2 years ago, we started our conversations, and he was paying me just the hourly consultation. He called me. We must have had 5 or 6 of them. He calls me 8 months later. He's like, Lance, dude, I've got this opportunity to have my own facility here in Colorado. It's going to be this big. It's craft. I'm really fucking nervous, man. Like, I don't know if I should do this. And I'm like, dude, you don't know? Fuck yeah. It's your time, man. Like, it's your fucking time. Like, this opportunity has presented itself. Pick the apple and take a bite. Like, you have to do this. And so he did it, helped him with design, helped him with phone. And then I was like, dude, look, Mike, I'm not going to take another consultation call with you. And he's like, what do you mean? Why not? I'm like, dude, because you're going to sign up for the fucking Patreon instead, and all the information I'm giving you is on there. Dude, this guy, he's sold out of fucking flower now. He hit me up the other day. He's got the splash. He's like in the Warheads from the Social Club. He's like, dude, look at this. Fucking canopy is smashing. Dude, this is a saturated market, Colorado.
Very mature.
All his shit is sold out. He's like, every fucking harvest, somebody's waiting. He's like, dude, I owe that all to Patreon. I was like, well, it's all your hard work with a little bit of knowledge. So I highly, highly recommend anyone out there, buy it for your employees. Like, it's insane. Our employees are on it. We got them a login. They can do their thing. I highly recommend it.
And we're there to answer questions like
every day. It's insane.
I mean, I can't stress the power.
Our
of
peers,
that.
when you hit them up to ask them something, they want $1,000 or more.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, and at the end of the day, it just feels so good to give back. Like, the reward, we don't even know how much people are crushing it and what they're getting from it, but like, you just know they are. It's impossible not to. So that's one of those things that's just so rewarding. So for us, dude, we get it. We got to be educators. We got to be leaders. We got to help put people in touch with one another. We're in the trenches every day. Like, it doesn't get any better than what we've created and what we're doing right here. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Glad that you allowed me to join the ride. Seriously, it's been wild.
Thank you to everybody who supports us. Thank you to everybody a part of the Patreon, listening to the podcast. Like, if you can't tell, we really care deeply about everybody eating and sitting at the table. Like, our table is very, very, very big, and it'll always have a seat if you need one. Fuck with Craft Farmer. I dare you.